This is We the Sales Engineers Podcast, show 113.
Welcome to We the SEs Podcast, the show for sales engineers by sales engineers with your host, Ramsey Majaba.
What's going on, Benny? Look at that beard, man. I've been wanting to talk about that all day.
I wish I didn't have the video on. I could say I now live in the woods, but I'm just embracing it, I think, until COVID is over. I kind of like it. Yeah. How are you? You're looking super clean, super fresh.
Yeah, I have a machine. I'm easy to maintain, man. That's why I shave my head. Like, I still have hair. My brother gets jealous because he's losing his. Hey, brother. But yeah, today's show. I know we have to get going really soon, so let's go through this. Today's show is with Mark Green. Amazing show, in my humble opinion, which, whatever that's worth. And we talk about. So he's been on the show previously on show 43. It'll be in the show notes. And that this is show 113. Check it out. And we talk about being an evangelist, which is his new role. He's moved from pre-sales to being an evangelist. We dig into that. And we also talk about social selling. So without further ado, let's jump into the show. What's going on, Mark? Welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hi, Ramsey. In fact, hi, both of you. Good to see you. I'm loving the hat there.
Thank you.
If anybody was watching this on YouTube, you can check out Benny's hair. They have their own Instagram page right now. So
nice.
Welcome back to the show. You've been on the show like episode 43, way early on in our podcasting career.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes. No, fantastic to be back on. Thank you so much. And yes, indeed, this is now the great oak tree from which little acorns grew. So what a success story, we the sales engineers.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. And it sounds so much better in an English accent than the Canadian one. So Benny's never met you other than like the first 5 minutes of before we started recording. Can you explain to people like Benny who you are and where you're from and what you do?
Well, the last time you asked me that, I said joy machine, and then had to spend the next 10 minutes explaining it. But I'll tell you what, go and listen to podcast 43.
Yep.
And that'll if that's piqued your interest. But what am I? So I'm pre-sales that split my career in half. The first half in IT, and the second half talking to people about IT. So that's me in a nutshell for business. And for personal, I live in London, but slightly outside of London. So I'm happily one with a garden, which seems to be the hot commodity right now during lockdown.
Yeah. Gardens are important, it seems. My wife made me garden for her. Anyways, that's a story for a different day.
That sounds like a bitter conversation.
No comment. All right. So you were in IT initially, and then you moved to sales engineering. But you've recently moved jobs, right?
I have indeed.
All right. So what did you move to? And we'll dig deeper into what that is and why.
Right. So I moved the first time, switched careers into pre-sales. Never looked back. I looked back with fond memories, but was very glad to be where I am now. The most recent move is still within the pre-sales world. I still feel part of the pre-sales clan. I still know it is the greatest thing to do for work ever. But I've done a slightly different take on it now. And so it was an opportunity that I couldn't pass up, because where I was technical pre-sales for part of Sage's organization previously that looked after the Sage X3 product, to do the same thing and more for what we call our medium segment business, which is Sage X3, Sage People, Sage Intact, a little bit of Cake HR and some Sage 200 as well. So there's a large part of Sage that needed a me. And we will see whether they live to regret that. but I'm sure they will certainly benefit from because it's still pre-sales. It's still connecting people and technology. But having connected people in technology for the last 20 years, I decided to help others. So a technology evangelist, which is my new job title, I've got three main things to do. One is to learn all the other products. So I need to be the technical expert for one of the technical experts for those products. The other is to evangelize our common platform message, both internally within the company and also externally. And the other thing is to make sure that I have measurable impact. Just like pre-sales, we're tied to sales quotas and sales people. I'm still working in the solution consulting pre-sales world, so tied to that. So I have to be effective. So whatever I do, I can't just sit and chat. It's got to be meaningful in some way as well.
All right.
Go ahead there, Ramsey. I'll ask after.
Okay. So just to go a step back, as a pre-sales engineer, you were focused on one or two products. Did I understand that right?
One main product with some fantastic sort of partner community and marketplace built around that, yes.
Okay. And as an evangelist, you're evangelizing all of Sage's solutions.
Yes, but you can imagine that might keep me quite busy.
Oh,
So
I know.
I've not necessarily tripled what I do in everything. Part of my role is to make sure that that I help enable all of the pre-sales people with that technical message. You had a great person on your podcast the other day, podcast 102, he says, checking his notes. And it was really good. It was about how to do a discovery meeting and how to do a meeting when there's extremely technical people in the room. And Trevor, I believe his name was, came across really well, really interesting person, and gave some great advice about when someone is incredibly technical there in the room with you and you are not at their level, how do you cope with that? Yep. And he came up with some great ideas, and one of them he saw the problem was that maybe it lengthened the sales cycle if you had to keep going back and asking what the person meant, and you do the discovery and you're not quite sure, etc. So that can be one thing, but also the opinion of the company that you're working with. You may want to show your technical prowess. And you know that you have technical prowess. You've got huge amounts of developers doing cool things. But can you translate that and can you bring that into the meeting with the customer? And so part of my job is to try to help fix that and make that not a problem.
Would you say the main difference then, I guess, between, say, somebody that's, say, a sales engineer or solutions consultant, anything of the sort, versus being an evangelist, is that, let's say maybe in your prior role, you're specifically selling to a customer for their specific need, whereas as an evangelist, you're more so touting the capabilities of the solution such that a sales engineer could then sell to a specific customer? Or how would you maybe differentiate that?
Yes, you are. I think the biggest differentiator between the two, which is difficult because they are so closely linked, is that with pre-sales, you tend, I don't want to overgeneralize, but you tend to take the products that are made and made by the product management, made by the development teams. You see what you've got in your kit bag, and then you go to customers and you try to describe their problems in a way that the world of the things that you've got can fix. And then they realize the value in what you have, and then everything's great. And that's fine. That will continue ad infinitum because it's a great way to do it. But if you look at it from the opposite way around, instead of looking at what products you have, look at what solutions people want in the market, what industries have an opinion in that technical world, and then be that trusted advisor to people. So and then say, well, actually, yes, looking at what we've got, then you've got all of these different options and you can look at various things. But one, it seems to be coming from a very what we already have in our kit bag, and one is being that external industry person voice to talk to them, but still connecting to the same place, like still part of the revenue generating part of Sage, and still very much loving doing that.
Okay.
But it's a sort of a nuanced shift,
So,
and it means that I can help craft what that message is.
all right, to
And do
clarify,
things like this.
that's awesome. To clarify, like, you're also limited with whatever products your company offers, but you have a bigger view of the entire industry potentially, so you can actually combine multiple solutions together. Is that what I'm hearing you say, or
That's a good way of putting it.
Okay.
Yes. And sometimes the right way to do something might not be with a solution that we've got. It might be that you need some other little point solutions to do those specific things, which will mean that you can take on our software, but augmented with other things in the industry, and maybe understand which problems that people have are actual problems, or ones that they haven't seen before. You know, the world is changing. We are having to come out of COVID to a world that none of the previous models of how industry works fit.
Yep.
When you have a research company that says, oh, well, this is the model of how software should work, or how engagement should work, or supply chain should work, well, it doesn't anymore. It doesn't fit.
Yep.
So you really need to be at the coalface of the world, finding out what's going to work and what can fit.
Okay. I want to take a step back, maybe in defining what your role is. So I'm a generalist SE, which sounds somewhat similar to what you do in terms of I'm not dedicated to one product. I have, I don't know, 10 different products. Each one does a billion different things. But I have a limited number of accounts, like either by geographical area or by assigned accounts. And I think that's where the difference might be between me and you. Do you have specific accounts that you need to work on, or are you pulled in by the account SEs to do, like, to talk about the different
Definitely the latter.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that my account list is everything in the UK.
So are you kind of...
But obviously I can't work on everything in the UK because there's only one of me. So where people need specific help, maybe they've got a really technical meeting that they need somebody in, then I can go and help with that. Or maybe I do a second pass over the RFPs.
Okay. Are you kind of like a wedge between sales engineers or pre-sales engineers and product management? Is your role kind of in between those two? I'm just trying to understand your role a little bit better.
It is a multifaceted role, and in fact it's quite exciting because as the shape of the company evolves and the shape of the part of the company that evolves, as will my job. So if I had a job spec that was very prescriptive, it would mean that should there be a requirement somewhere, but my job spec doesn't really fit it, I couldn't go and do it, because then I'd be doing something outside of my job spec. And what do we get measured on? Well, we get measured on whether or not we're doing our job. So my job is to be a bit of a generalist.
Okay. And do you mind sharing what you get measured on?
It's various things. Some of them are still to be decided.
Okay. All right. But you still have a quota. You still need to sell.
Still have a quota. Yes.
Okay. All right. I don't want to go too much deep into how you get paid or anything like that. I'm just trying to understand what the role is. But I think I
still work for the solution consulting director.
Yeah. Okay.
So it still falls under that. And then who obviously works very closely with sales as well. So still in that world. I certainly didn't want to leave that world.
Okay.
Because it's the greatest job ever, right?
So yes, we wouldn't be here if we didn't love this job right now. You're basically, if I understand correctly, like you're still in the pre-sales world. You're just shifted, like you're not you're not really in the weeds. You shifted up so you can understand the industry as a whole and bring value to your customers by knowing that. Does that sound accurate?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes.
why the term evangelist? Like,
It's
did you
because you've got
come
to
up with
pick
this?
something.
Did you come up with it? Is that the title you chose, or is that the title that the actual role was?
I had a hand in it, but
Okay.
if everything was down to me, then the world would be a different place. But no, I mean, obviously that was something that my manager was very happy with, and he came up with the term, and I couldn't agree more. The thing is, there are different types of technical evangelists as well. There are some that are extremely technical, and where you have the development teams on one side with the hugely technical in-depth knowledge that's just fantastic, and they're built, the way that they're coding things might be the most beautiful bit of coding. You know, it's very, very efficient, it's very testable, it's very repeatable. That's great, but there are very few meetings necessarily that you need to go into in a sales situation and talk about the way that the code was written.
Yep.
So you do have technical evangelists that sit just next to the development team, so they can articulate the business benefits of those things. And then there's the marketing side, that is all of the business value of the software and the changes that doing business software can be. But then you have to have a technical understanding to add a bit more detail when someone drills into that. So there's two very technical and not so technical worlds. I see pre-sales as standing in the middle.
Nice.
So I encompass that whole middle part.
Just out of curiosity, is it that like us or maybe pre-sales being in that middle ground that allows you to say that it's the best role in the world? Or just out of curiosity, maybe you mentioned on 43, my mistake if you did, but why is sales engineering, or why is pre-sales rather?
Why is pre-sales the greatest job in the world? Well, for me, it's because of that connecting people and technology. So I can do the technology, that's fine. Some people can do maths, some people are good at art. Technology is kind of my thing. My dad worked for IBM, which was his first job. And then he continued to work for IBM throughout the whole of the rest of his career, and then left IBM at the end. So for all the time that I've been around, until when he retired recently, he was at IBM. So technology and business and software was always kind of in the family. So that's obviously, I would imagine that's how I ended up in it. But the technology side's great, but it's the communication. It's the fact that we're talking with real human beings. That's what actually excites me. The listening to people and understanding people, storytelling, how you can be impactful, and help people understand what it is that they're trying to say. Oh, it's the greatest thing. So that I absolutely love. And I suppose that side of things I can thank my mum. So hi mum, hi dad, although I'm going to have to forward this to you.
Yeah, by all means, the more listeners the better, even if it's your mom and dad. So by the way, if anybody wants to listen to Mark's detailed, I guess, dissection of how to tell a story, you should go listen to show 43. You mentioned that the opportunity came and you couldn't pass it on. Did you like go looking for this opportunity, or did someone come and give you a call? And
I was searching for a slightly different opportunity. So I've been helping to run the pre-sales leadership forum in the UK in London with Don Carmichael for a long time. Definitely his brainchild, but I'm very happy to sort of co-help him out there. And really that world of, there was a moment when I was helping some people do something and their success became my success. So the better they did, the better I felt. As soon as that switch happened, I realized that I had to do something with my future that was more than just making me good. So I was trying to head into management, trying to head into become a team leader. pre-sales manager, pre-sales manager. So I was trying to do the managing bit, and I know that it's not all roses. You've got to do people's timesheets and expenses, and
Yep.
have the hard conversations with the people as well. You know, life's not always peachy. However, at the same moment that I was lining myself up nicely to move into that world, there was an opportunity, to be a pre-sales leader, but without necessarily having to be a pre-sales manager. And we all say, don't we, that being a manager is not necessarily being a leader.
Yep.
And I had felt for a while that being a leader is a far more rewarding thing than necessarily just being a manager. So it was the same person that came to me and said, look, there's these two roles. There's been this one that you've been heading towards for a year and a half. It's brilliant, but I've got a massive requirement here. And he described how me being in that role could help the company. And I fell in love with it. And I thought, well, that's brilliant. So now I feel very much a leader. I'm still an individual contributor, so I don't have people working for me, although I would love to do that at some point. I've got that in my back pocket for another time.
Do you think, like, this is a speculative question, but do you think you would have gotten this opportunity if you weren't fighting to get the leadership opportunity?
I think I wouldn't have got it if I wasn't someone who would fight for something. Not fight, perhaps I wouldn't use that word, but strive and thrive. I've got a very energetic passion for doing things well and doing things right. And it's that attitude, I think, over anything that was most appealing.
Yeah. So the reason I'm asking, there's a lot of people who want to get to the leadership role or want to move up, but they don't tell anybody they want to do that. They don't show that they want to do that. And when the time comes, they don't get it because they've never asked for it. This happened in my former company where the guy's never asked for a leadership role, and now he's upset that he didn't get the leadership role. So it's good that you're fighting for it. Obviously, even if you fight for it, sometimes you might not get it and you might have to look elsewhere. But if you don't strive for it and let people know, you will never move up. And you didn't get the job that you thought you want initially. You got a different opportunity that you decided to take. So it opens up more doors if you're striving for something.
It really does. And, you know, we chatted last time, and when I moved from IT into pre-sales, so when I turned 30, I started wearing suits to work. Okay, yes. So I was the IT support guy, scrabbling underneath the desks, which to this day, no one has found a way to make an office floor box, not contain crisps and sweets. Like furry, hairy ones, you know?
Yep.
They're not a place you really want to be. So, but I was the guy that did it. So, but I started wearing a suit. I'm like, I'm 30, I'm going to be this. And it's it's unfortunate that it should take such a thing, but it's a fortunate accident that professionalism is viewed by many before you've started speaking. So you see someone and you'd make a judgment of who they are. So that was a conscious decision to move into a new world. And this is exactly the same. I decided, am I going to do this job? You know, am I going to go through the normal pre-sales, senior pre-sales, principal pre-sales, master pre-sales, godlike pre-sales, whatever the individual contributor scale is that companies tend to have. Am I going to carry on doing that? Is it more of the same? And when this opportunity came up, I saw it as a way to help more people. And if all of the people that I help succeed more, even just a little bit, because I've been there for them to ask a question of me or jump on a call, because there's going to be a really technical person on the call, or they've gone into the call and they didn't realize that the CTO was going to be on the call. So like, can you jump on? We want to have a conversation. If I can help them just a little bit, that's my big tick right there. More than happy.
That maybe brings up an interesting little question, especially given the passion that you have towards, your role and being an evangelist. What's the reception been to you being an evangelist? So like, what's the reception been, say, of the audience, or just maybe even of your colleagues, of you doing what you're doing?
First thing is, what the hell? What's a technology evangelist? That's the first thing, because the role is so multifaceted, it's a complex answer, but and it's because it's a complex job, but I love spinning lots of plates. That's the thing I happen to be good at, so I do. But then once I've explained what it is that I do, they love it. And what's interesting is that it's not just the pre-sales part of the company that has got in touch. So now it's marketing wanting me to jump on and do an interview or work with a copywriter to create some content. And it's product management wanting to hear about a wider view from all of their SCs in terms of the technical functionality that they're able to choose. It's partners who I'm working with more now to better describe their technical capabilities, especially where they form a really good technical prowess, like a fantastic technical ability. They see this as a way to better describe that to my audience internally. And of course, my internal audience, all the wonderful Sage people, I love helping them, but also externally as well. So I get to evangelize and talk to people about it externally, like at DemoFest. I was presenting at DemoFest recently, and that was an amazing conference. Nice. I know, fairly consensus centric, but I'll give them that. They did a good job. And demo scaling, like that's a whole other podcast topic there.
Yeah. But we're not going to go there today because I have a different topic in mind. By the way, shout out to Don Carmichael. He was on the show on show 60. Mm-hmm. So he, if you want to check it out, wetheSalesEngineers.com/show60. But I think part of the reason you were able to move into this role and you're being asked by marketing to do some stuff is because you use social selling. And in your previous role, I haven't seen what you've been doing with this new role. You may have, and I just missed it. Can you describe, first of all, what social selling is and why you decided to go that route?
Sure thing. So social selling, well, the one thing about doing everything by Zoom or Teams or everything by video from working from home is that we have people come in the middle of us doing things. There's people doing calls with babies on their arm. We have pets, lots and lots of pets. And it's brilliant because we've become more human as a result. What's the one thing that anyone says when you go to have a business meeting? You can talk business, but if you can make that human connection, then that's really good. Well, guess what? We're all humanly connecting. Yep. And it's the same with social selling. So social selling for me is a way for people to get to know each other, but it's not social media. Social media, if I were to encapsulate that as the whole Twitter, Instagram, personal interaction. Social selling is the business interaction where you can just scattergun randomly, just post stuff. But you have to understand what effect that has to your pipeline and to your opportunities and to your campaigns. So I use LinkedIn predominantly. And so that's a good place for me to become this trusted advisor in the industry and know what I'm talking about, or appear that I know what I'm talking about. But with social selling, you can connect LinkedIn, for example, to Salesforce. So when you see your opportunity in Salesforce, and you can see what they're saying on LinkedIn, you can use Sales Navigator. So if they post something, or if anyone in that company posts something, you can then see what's happened. And so then when you jump into the meeting, you can say, oh, I saw you were chatting about this, that, or the other. And then suddenly you've made more of a connection that you wouldn't have done otherwise. So it's great for researching people.
That's interesting. I've never actually heard anyone talk about connecting LinkedIn to
Salesforce.
Salesforce. I'm pretty sure marketing people have done that, but as sales engineers, I don't think we have. I don't think we've seen that.
Yeah, it's more of a sales ops thing. So whomever would put Salesforce in as an application into a business, it is an option that they can do if they've got LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Yeah. And it's really, really good, because at the end of the day, the customer, when they have any interaction with you, they don't necessarily want to buy software. It's almost a necessary evil. They want to be able to do their job and it be easy, or it be effective. So they're just trying to communicate with you properly. And the more you can understand their requirements, more that you can understand their company, the more, if you do more discovery on a company or on some people before you meet them, you're going to supercharge that relationship that you have with them when you're face to face.
Right. Yeah, that's not where I was expecting this conversation to go, which it's good. Like, that's the beauty of talking to people.
Where were you expecting it to go? You were going to expect me to talk about 2 Minute Tuesdays.
Yes, that's why I got you on
that's
here.
also a good thing.
But
so we should probably explain what 2 Minute Tuesdays is.
Yes, go ahead. Explain what 2 Minute Tuesday is.
So I will admit to getting the idea from Peter McKinnon.
Okay.
One of the greatest videographers, photographers on YouTube.
Yep.
So have a look. And very Canadian, like super Canadian. Like if you cut him through, there'll be like a maple leaf, like a stick of rock. So he did 2 Minute Tuesdays as well. And I thought, what a brilliant way to get a consumable amount of content. It's a promise that I'm not going to take up much of your time, but I might have something interesting. And so when you put it on LinkedIn, people don't have a long time to sit and watch huge videos. Yes, if you're on YouTube, then people tend to go and they can watch a longer video because they maybe got it on whilst they're doing something else. But LinkedIn, they tend to sort of have it there and it's very easy to scroll past it. So 2 minutes isn't long. And they were describing various different aspects of our software. So there was integration, there was warehouse management, there was some supply chain stuff, but it all followed the same story arc of here's a problem and an example, but it might go wrong, but we can save the day, and this is the benefit to you. Just in 2 minutes. It kind of rarely stuck to exactly 2 minutes though.
I noticed.
Because, I mean, you know, when you say to any SC, oh yeah, you know that P2P demo that you do? Yes. Yeah, the one that takes 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need you to do it in 2 minutes. I'm like, well, they're not going to see anything. I'm like, well, what if you only had 2 minutes? What would you show them? And then they go, oh yeah, no, I would show them this bit. Right, we'll show that. Because it's a start of a conversation, isn't it?
Right. So did you work with marketing in order to get that up and running, or did you decide to do it yourself and just went with it?
No, I did it with myself. In fact, I still pay $40 a month subscription for all the Adobe products that I'm using.
Which products are you using?
I just went ahead and did it because it's authentic, because it was done by me. And this is another thing for social selling. You see a lot of people just sending links, just posting links to stuff that their company does, which is great. But if I'm sure if every post that I made was about Sage, everyone would just write me off as a big advert.
Yep.
So we don't want to do that. And also, you don't necessarily want to always craft content that your audience wants. You have to think what you want. And so I do one of each. I share a bit of content that is about stuff that I love. So the world of pre-sales and psychology and communicating and storytelling and all that. But balance that with posts about supply chain and finance and Sage and integration and data and stuff like that.
Okay. Did marketing come and tell you that's okay, or the reason I'm asking?
It's interesting. They didn't stop me, but they did stop somebody else. So there was someone that was doing it with their mobile phone. His videos were amazing. I mean, proper interaction. You know, he was getting people sending messages, and he was talking about various things that they were doing in that part of the business. Really very good. But you must do things in accordance with the company's social media policy guidelines. Now, whilst my 2-Minute Tuesdays were, and I believe that his were as well, it's always a little bit difficult if, well, intercompany politics or internal company politics are a little bit of a grey area sometimes. But thankfully, 2-Minute Tuesdays was fine. And although I haven't done a few in a while, there's some other things coming down the pipeline that will be quite exciting.
Nice. Well, I use you as an example for storytelling. The Three Little Pigs. If someone asks me about how do I storytell? Like, hey, watch this video about the Three Little Pigs by Mark Green, The Joy Machine. And social selling, there's you and there's a gentleman by the name of Sly Gethens. He does more like tutorial videos.
Yeah.
Where you do concise 2 minutes. So there's two different aspects. But neither one of you requested any approval from marketing, and you're both still working for the same companies.
Yeah.
And the gentleman who got stopped, he wasn't fired or anything. He didn't say anything.
No. It was just a nervousness. So it's fine.
Yeah. So basically, the worst thing that could happen is they will stop you, and at least you would take an initiative. Yeah. All right. That's amazing.
It helps to have some pretty good production values. So I was always very clear that had to be with proper decent microphone. If you're going to be recording yourself, it has to be really decent lighting. It has to be in high quality. It has to follow this format.
Okay.
And it was as high a production value as I could do without it seeming like it was produced by a marketing company, because then it loses its credibility a little bit.
Have you heard of DaVinci Resolve?
DaVinci Resolve?
Yeah.
Should I have done?
Well,
is it going to be embarrassing that I haven't?
No. It's a free software that replaces some of Adobe's software, like the video editing software.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So if you don't want to pay $40 a month, that's all I'm saying.
That's a good tip. I will go and have a look later.
That's what I use for my my YouTube videos. So if you are okay with my YouTube videos, then it should work for you. All right. Well, I think it's time to move on to the not so fire round, which
I like this bit.
Yeah, you've already answered some of these questions, but let's go again. Benny, you want to get us started?
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And it's all within a new context now, right? Now you're an evangelist versus not. So with that, what do you love about being a tech evangelist?
I love it when I help, because it's more of an opportunity to help others succeed. So the number and breadth and type of people that I am now in a position to help has grown, and I love that.
And maybe just to clarify a little bit, or maybe it's both, internal people you're helping, external people?
A lot of internal people. I was helping a little bit externally. That will grow over time. I got a message actually over the weekend from someone that watched my presentation at Demo Fest, and one of the things I did there was give away a free download of the story arc template. And he's actually got it, and he's printed it off, and he's put it on his wall. And I thought, oh, dear, I hope I spelt everything right on it. I wasn't expecting everyone to take it quite so happily, but I'm very happy that they have.
Nice. All right. Question number 2. What would be one thing you would change about your current role?
I would change seeing people in real life.
Yeah.
You know, I've not done this role yet, not in lockdown. So that's one thing I would change.
It's interesting. Like, as part of my job, I do work with companies who are considered essential. So sometimes I have to go drop off a piece of equipment because I do work with physical equipment. And I end up talking to the person I'm dropping off the equipment for, socially distant and all that, for 40 minutes to an hour about cars, about children, nothing to do with work. Just
anything,
the fact,
please, just something.
Yeah, just the fact that they saw someone facing them, not wearing a mask, and like far away. It was enough to build a relationship, I guess. So yeah, I can't wait for us to actually be able to return to that normal.
Yeah,
hopefully soon. Benny,
Yeah,
third question.
Yeah, absolutely. Question 3. So what would you say are some great books or resources or other tools that you'd recommend, I guess, for anybody in pre-sales, maybe people that want to be evangelists, just in general? What would you say?
Great books. It's almost as if I expected you to say this.
It's almost.
Which, for the people listening not on YouTube, you're wondering what on earth I'm doing. Right. I have got 3 books. The first one is If Ever Your Brain Isn't Tired. This one, the GCHQ puzzle book. So it's full of really, really difficult puzzles. But what I like about it is that historically, being clever has meant you had to be academic. But GCHQ looks for not just people that are clever academically, but clever just, they don't quite think straight. And I'll be the first to admit that's definitely me. Because you have to really think round and abstractly about some of these puzzles. So that's good. An SES survival handbook, because there's nothing like in lockdown feeling like you need to be able to survive, even though I don't think I need to do half the stuff in this book, really. And the last one is It's Your Ship by Captain D. Michael Abrasov. I can never say his last name. But really, that's all about trusting people and trusting people that look up to you for advice and guidance. And the biggest message out of that is that they probably know the answer already. So before you have an idea, ask them what their idea and how they would do it.
It's like coaching, basically. Don't give the person, or psychologists do that. Don't give the person the answer.
You
let them realize
let
it.
them feel like they can come up with an answer, and even if it's wrong, support their ability to do that.
Yeah. Nice. All right. So these are 3 books. Last question of the not so 5 round. What separates great SEs from the okay or not so good ones?
I would say that, in my opinion, he says, narrowing it slightly, ones that care about other people and the whole team, rather than just their own success. That is what there are many, but I think that's the biggest one. The people that want everyone to succeed are amazing.
That sounds like good leadership quality. So, all right. Last question of the day. Where can people find out more about you?
They can find out more about me either on my LinkedIn, and if you're going to find me on LinkedIn, send me a message in the invitation, please. Or they can go to mark.technology. The web URL is mark.technology.
Is that new?
New-ish, yes.
Okay.
And there's a little bit about me. There's a fun video, and there's a link to the 2 Minute Tuesday series on there as well, if you're interested.
Okay. Nice. All right, man. Well, that's it for us today. Is there any questions we should have asked you that we didn't?
No, but I would like to offer one tip.
All right, please.
There were loads of tips last week on not last week, at DemoFest.
Yep.
But the most fun thing that I saw was a piece of advice to look into the camera right there, because you're there.
Yep.
You're not down here. And like, we have all heard that piece of advice before, but it's still really, really difficult to do because all of your smiling faces are down here. So what I do is stick a Lego person on the top of the camera. And then basically all of my presentations, oh, you've got a little smiley face. Exactly. So there we go. So I stuck a Lego person on top of the camera, and she gets all my presentations.
Nice. Is she impressed?
Well, she's got a fairly fixed expression, to be quite honest. So
we should work on that.
Apparently smiling. So we'll go with that.
Okay. Mine has crooked teeth, but there's a smile there, so it makes me feel better.
that sounds good.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks a lot for your time. We appreciate it, and
thank you very much indeed.
We'll see you later.
Excellent. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Mark, for jumping on. Thanks for digging up your server so we can use my software of choice. Let's just leave it there. Benny, you were kind of taking everything in. I noticed. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a good, interesting conversation. It was really cool to hear somebody that, came, still in pre-sales, but kind of moved around in roles a little bit. I had to kind of wrap my head a little bit around what being an evangelist really meant. But at that point, it was just really cool to, listen and take in his experiences with respect to social selling, with respect to evangelizing his product, with respect to some of the human dynamics around that. And it was just all around really interesting.
Yeah, I feel like he can do a lot with his role. If he can learn the industry, and he can combine multiple different instead of selling the product, now you're selling a solution. So it's a very interesting role that I'd love to learn more in the future. Maybe we'll find some other evangelists, because I'm pretty sure there are no two evangelists that do the same exact thing. Kind of like sales engineering, not like software development where you develop software, or testing where you test. So we'll look for a few more, and compare and contrast between, and it can be completely different. Could be had nothing to do with sales engineering, but yeah, that's an interesting role. Yeah, so I love the way he does social selling. Like, this is something I want to do for my work, except I just haven't had the chance to do it, and I haven't been brave enough to just try it and figure out if marketing wants to stop me, they can stop me later.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting how it kind of does it independently, and then that point too about when all you're posting about on LinkedIn is just, rehashes of company stuff, then who are you really? But if you start kind of posting your own things and kind of build your own identity, then that's, that has a little more value to it. That's a really good point. I don't do that. That's a great idea. Yeah.
I don't post for my company mainly because of that. Like, they've probably seen it from 3 or 4 other people already. And it'll be the exact same words, unless I want to take the time to actually read through the article and summarize and put my own thoughts into the subject line. Then it's not worth it for me. I feel like I'm just a guy passing along information. I don't know how much value. Anyways, so that was a good show. I don't want to belabor the point. If you haven't left a rating or review, please do so. Join the forums. There's some good conversations taking place on there. For example, the latest one was about retelling the same stories over and over. Check it out. Let me know your thoughts. I actually have a YouTube video on that topic as well. Anything else to say, Benny?
Nope. I hope everybody's doing okay. All things considered, what a time to be alive. And I don't know, stay safe, and hopefully you're all able to enjoy the summer if that's what it is where you are.
All right. Well, for Benny, this is Ramsey signing off.